Before we start, this video is sponsored by no one. Wala naman kasi akong sponsor. Kumusta? I'm Avard Joseph and welcome to News and Worthy Recap Weekly Edition number 144. We have tons of covered since last week, so skip the chances provided if it piques your interest and subscribe to the channel kasi wala namang masama, di ba? And let's get on with the video. Rodrigo Duterte, hindi humarap sa ICC. What do you get when you constantly provoke the almighty International Criminal Court to prosecute you?
Yung former president ba ay willing na mag-cooperate sa investigation sa ICC? Kaugnay dito?
ICC, ma'am. I'm asking the ICC to hurry up, and if possible, they can come here and start the investigation tomorrow. This issue has been left hanging for so many years. Matagal, ma'am. Baka mamatay na ako, hindi na nila ako maimbestiga. So I'm asking the ICC through you na magpunta na sila dito bukas, umpisahan na nila ang investigation. And if I am found guilty, I will go to prison and rot there for all time.
The commencement of the confirmation hearing against Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte is a reminder of the court's unwavering commitment to its mission to investigate and prosecute individuals for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community and to bring justice to the thousands of victims of the mass crimes and atrocities perpetrated in the Philippines. It is also a reminder that those in power are not above the law.
Hindi dumulo sa pagliliti si dating Presidente Rodrigo Duterte sa kanyang confirmation of charges hearing sa ICC na susuri kung may sapat bang ebidensya para ituloy o magkaroon ng trial na kokonsumo sa oras ng korte. Is it feasible enough na itong mga ebidensya na nilagay nila, and of course there are many more to come, sapat na ba ito para magkaroon tayo ng trial o dapat ibasura na ng korte? Aabot ng 60 araw bago pa magkaroon ng pasya ang International Criminal Court kung tutuloy ba talaga sa trial sa kanyang mga kasong crimes against humanity ng war on drugs ni Papa Dutz. Ang dahilan niya kung bakit hindi na siya dumalo, he's old, frail, and stubborn AF. Sinabi niyang makakalimutan rin naman niya ang mga nangyayari sa confirmation of charges at hindi naman talaga siya kailangan doon, which is, true. He also doesn't recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC sa kanya, na kinidnap siya kasi nga ayaw sa kanya ng Presidente Marcos.
And said, Mr. Kaufman, Nick, I have done my duty and I have left my legacy. Go to court and do your job, but I can no longer help you. I no longer remember much at all, and I can't comment on people who I do not know and on statistics that mean nothing to me. He then concluded and pronounced as follows: I was a faithful servant of the people, and that is how I wish to be remembered. I have now accepted my fate, and I realize that I could die in prison.
This is despite the fact na he was assessed to be fit to stand trial just last week at he was lucid enough to understand kung ano yung mga karapatan niya at nagdesisyon siyang i-waive ang kanyang rights to attend the hearing. Not to mention na he maintains na hindi niya kinikilala ang jurisdiction ng ICC. One of the reason kung bakit hindi siya pinayagan ng interim release. Kasi nga, malamang sa malamang, hindi siya attend sa mga susunod pang trial.
Having rejected the 3 grounds of appeal presented by the defense in the appeal brief, the appeals chambers unanimously confirms the impugned decision. The pretrial chamber considered that he appears to have the necessary political contacts as well as to benefit from a network of support within the Philippines. The appeals chamber considers that contrary to the defense's argument, the pretrial chamber specifically outlined why it found that there existed a network of supporters in relation to Mr. Duterte, and for which reason this supported its conclusion that the risk under Article 58(1)(b) subparagraph 1 of the statute was established. The appeals chamber recalls that there is no provision in the court's legal texts that specifically provides for the interim or conditional release of a detained person on health grounds. The second ground of appeal is rejected.
Sa isang confirmation of charges hearing, hindi tinitignan kung guilty ba ang isang tao, kundi kung may reasonable bang ebidensya, testimonya, at kung tama ba ang mga ikinakaso sa kanya at kailangan ba talagang magkaroon ng trial o pwedeng iiwan na natin sa local courts. Which was what my first opinion of this whole ICC Duterte debacle. The prosecution shall paint a picture kung ano ang konteksto ng nangyayari sa panahon na iyon. Ginamit nila yung mga kuda ni Duterte, kumbaga using Duterte's words against himself sa mga talumpati o interview at iba pa para mapatunayan na from the top to the bottom, mayroong institutional na direktiba para gawin ang ibinibintang sa kanya.
During his presidential campaign, he campaigned on a promise, a pledge to implement the common plan to kill alleged criminals nationwide if elected.
3 to 6 months, sabi ko, I will eradicate corruption, criminality, and drugs. If I become the president, I will order the military and the police to hunt down the drug lords, the big ones, and kill them. Tell me what my credentials to the presidency? Then I'd say Davao is Exhibit A. Ngayon, dito sa Davao, hindi sabihin ito malinis itong bayan na to. It's not perfect. So that maybe I said, kung dating ako doon sa Pasig, I can promise you not heaven, but I will promise you a comfortable life. Corruption has to stop. Criminality has to stop. Either makuha ko ang gusto ko or you perish. Magprangkahan na lang tayo. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Patayan yan.
I promise you, hindi naman believe yung ibang tao. Sabi ko, I would stop drugs and crime, criminality in 3 to 6 months. Sabi nila, that's too ambitious. My God, subukan ninyo ako. That's what I told the Davao criminals before. Pinapatawag ko pa, do you want to go out of the city? Gusto mong pumunta ng Manila, maganda ang buhay doon. Doon ka na lang, gusto mo? Di yun hindi naniwala. Di patay. Ano pag-usapan natin dyan? Bakit para sa akin? Did I do it for my own? For my own benefit? To enrich myself? What does the life of a criminal got to do with your pocket? No. Nabi ko lang, I want a peaceful city. Umalis kayo. Pag hindi, papatayin ko talaga kayo. Di pinatay ko. Give me time kasi naghirit talaga ako. At sa kung gusto naman ito, hindi ka talagang gagawin ko. Hihirit ako. Ang sabi ko sa military pati police, only criminals, drug-related offenses. I will tell the police and the military, go out and kill them. Period. Alam naman nila.
Alam mo ito, pag ako ang na-presidente, I would warn you, I do not covet the position. Pag na-presidente ako, magtago na kayo. Yung 1,000 nan, it would reach 50,000. I would kill all you making the life of the Filipino miserable. Mapatayin ko talaga kayo. Kasi manalo ako dahil nga yung breakdown sa law and order. I do not want to commit a crime. But if by chance, per chance, God would place me there, magbantay kayo, kasi itong 1,000 na ito maging 100,000. Diyan mo makita tataba yung isda dyan sa Manila Bay. Diyan ko kayo itapon. I do not want to be president. I do not want to kill people. So do not elect me as president.
Pero ito siguro ang nasa isip nyo. Akala ko ba nasa 30,000 mahigit ang napatay through extrajudicial killings? Bakit wala pang 100 yung mga victims kuno? Ganito kasi yan. Una, it's not realistic to ask for 30,000 names, nor is 20,000, nor is 10,000 names. Ang tawag sa listahan ng mga biktima na katulad kay Duterte ay non-exhaustive list. Ibig sabihin, hindi lahat ay kasama dahil hindi naman lahat kailangang mailagay nor willing mailagay in fear of retaliation, lalo na at si Vice President Sara Duterte, Vice President. Si Duterte, mayor pa rin ng Davao. Ang kanyang mga anak, congressman o kaya mayor o kaya naman party list representative. So talagang meron pa rin silang hold sa Philippine politics. Gumagamit lang ang mga prosecutor ng pili na pagpatay that can paint a full picture. Na first, pangmalawakan itong ginawang pagpatay. Second, nagmula kay Duterte ang utos na umpisahan ang pagpatay. Third, may pattern ng institutional policy to kill/exterminate civilian population or neutralize. In that case, yung civilian population is the alleged drug addict at mga pusher. And lastly, it is Duterte who said/implemented the extrajudicial killings when he was mayor and or implemented the Davao model to the entire Philippines when he was president.
These murders and attempted murders were part of a widespread and systematic attack that overall resulted in the killings of thousands of civilians across the country during the relevant time frame. Thus, the charged incidents are merely a fraction of the overall criminality that resulted from Mr. Duterte's so-called war on drugs. What is Mr. Duterte's core contribution? Your Honors, Mr. Duterte played a pivotal role in the commission of the charged crimes. His contribution was essential, as he was at the very heart of the common plan to use his words, to neutralize alleged criminals in the Philippines, including through murders. The victim included individuals associated with one of the first things Mr. Duterte did when he became the mayor of Davao back in 1988 was to create the infamous Davao Death Squad, otherwise known as DDS. As you will have seen from the prosecution pre-confirmation brief, Mr. Duterte personally instructed their squad members.
Even the PNP stated themselves na nasa 6,000 ang namatay sa war on drugs ni Duterte. Although, of course, hindi natin alam if reliable ang ganyang statistic dahil sila ang nasa poder and they won't try to make themselves look bad. Maybe, they forgot to file a report or something like that. Who knows anymore? O kaya naman, merong falsification na nangyayari, of which I am not actually directly accusing them of such malversation or falsification, pero this is definitely bound to happen, and this is definitely more likely to bound to happen during Duterte's war on drugs. Pero these are all rebutted, dismissed by Nicholas Kaufman. Ang sabi niya, pinupolitika lang ng Administrasyong Marcos ang pagkakasuko kay Duterte. That they cannot use the speeches na ginawa ni Duterte in either official or unofficial capacity as mayor and president. Because he's just joking, Huwag kayong maniwala dyan kasi nakakatawa naman yung mga sinasabi niya. And, you don't get the culture. It's a culture thing na, patayin ko kayong lahat 3 to 6 months. Alam mo ba, 1,000 na ang pinatay ko, ganyan-ganyan. And the fact na sa wording ng kanyang mga presidential decrees, neutralize was meant to be subdue or arrest and not kill. Lalo na regarding high-value targets, kuno as the bridge to an official order to kill sa Tokhang, Double Barrel, lahat yon mula sa Davao Model Kuno. He also dismissed the Davao Death Squad as mere fictitious entity na na-conjure ng prosecution at ng media, lalo na at masyado nilang dinramatize ang mga nangyayari sa patayan sa war on drugs ni Duterte, especially on the early years.
There is no dispute that CMC number 16 of 2016 mentions Project Double Barrel, which was indeed modelled after Davao City's policing strategy and was directed at the neutralisation of illegal drug personalities nationwide. But here we come to the crux of the prosecution case. The manifestation of the criminal plan in writing. Let us take a look at paragraph 8E and F of the very same command circular, number 16 of 2016, which states quite clearly that all operations should strictly observe the rights of the accused enshrined in the Philippine Constitution as well as international law and human rights.
Natatawa pa nga ako dun sa sinabi ni Kaufman. Sabi nila kahit ngayon sa panahon ni Bongbong Marcos, mayroon pa ring extrajudicial killings. But bakit hindi hinainan ng prosecution si Marcos ng mga kaso laban sa mga kasong related sa extrajudicial killing?
I would like to show you the statistics pertaining to the rate of killings since the former president has left power and the responsibility for law and order has passed into the hands of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. I rely on a report published by academics at the Third World Studies Center in the University of the Philippines in the context of what is called the Dahas Project. And trust me, the report for the first year of the Marcos administration showed that out of 342 killings, 160 were at the hands of state agents. Clearly, I'm forced to ask myself whether anyone on the other side of this room has thought of investigating the Marcos regime and the related phenomenon and holding someone accountable. Why are my colleagues sitting to their right, the victims' representatives, not clamoring for accountability for those deaths? Or is it of no consequence now that Mr. Duterte is sitting in the ICC detention center?
He made a small point I just have to respond to, making a call. Why aren't there more investigations? Why aren't crimes being investigated now in the Philippines? Well, his client prevented all that by withdrawing the Philippines from the Rome Statute when he thought he might be prosecuted, thereby ensuring that we would not have jurisdiction after a certain period. Another point. My friend is trying to kind of have it both ways on how Your Honor should treat Mr. Duterte's utterances, his speeches, his words. On day 1, T0004 at page 30, lines 18 to 19, my friend said, Duterte's word was his word and the people knew it, end quote. Yesterday, worried about his client's confessions, that's what they are, he said, quote, this is at T0006, page 7, lines 5 to 7, he said, quote, one cannot rely on anything coming out of Mr. Duterte's mouth. All right, that's good to know if he ever decides to testify, and for his representations on interim release, that you can't trust a word that comes out of his mouth. But beyond that, as I went through on Monday, 3 times under oath, Mr. Duterte said in committee hearings, I have a death squad. Is Mr. Kaufman saying that his client is a liar and a perjurer who has no problem lying under oath? Limited use statements. Back to Mr. Duterte, he's proud of his killings. He wants to be remembered for them. Decades of murdering his own people, murdering the children of the Philippines, and he claims that he did it all for his country. He doesn't deny it. He says, as I said early on, it's a necessary evil. It's for the greater good. Doesn't matter how many kids I have to kill. I'll clean up the Philippines.
Now, ganito kasi yan. Kahit na sabihin natin sila ay mga addict o kaya pusher, mayroon pa rin tayong tinatawag na constitutional rights. And this is what Duterte should know. Duterte villainized the people na nalululong sa droga imbes na yung dahilan kung bakit sila nalulong sa bisyo. And, I will agree that, a lot of them deserve to die. Pero, bakit mo kasi pinangalandakan? Bakit mo pinagsasabi? Yan tuloy, merong ebidensya laban sa'yo. Ikulong at i-rehab ang mga addict. That's the official stance that you should have been working for. Yung mga may ginawa pang mas malala, karampatang pagkakakulong ang dapat. Di ba nga ang sabi mo dun sa Senate hearing, encourage the people na manlaban para mapatay mo na sila at mawala na sa isip ni Duterte another one to feed sa prison system.
Ang sinabi ko, ganito, encourage the criminals to fight. Encourage them to draw their guns. Pagka lumaban, patayin ninyo para matapos na ang problema ko sa siyudad ko.
In-encourage nyo ang PNP na i-encourage yung suspect na lumaban.
Yes.
Para mapatay, para masabing nanlaban.
Correct. Meron akong death squad. Death squad. Pero hindi yung mga pulis. Sila rin yung mga gangster. Yung isang
Mr. Chair.
gangster, utusan ko. Patayin mo yan, kaya kung hindi mo patayin yan, patayin kita ngayon. Bakit mo isakripisyo yan sila? Kaya protektado ko yan sila. Pagka in the fulfillment of duty, sabi ko sa kanila, magpakamatay ako sa inyo. Pero pag nag-abuso kayo, nagpatay kayo ng tao, nag-hold up kayo, nag-kidnap kayo, putang ina, ako mismo ang papatay sa inyo. Senator, may I
yes, sir. Go ahead.
interject? Lahat itong sa right side ko, dumaan ito ng Chief of Police, Police Director. Puro commander ng death squad yan.
I thought there was no existence.
Trabaho ng pulis yan. Literally, hindi mo sabihin ng death squad. Yung isang senador, yan ang nakaupo dyan, si Senator De La Rosa. Death squad rin yan.
because they were police directors handling the controlling crimes in the city. So pag sinabi mong death squad, it's a very loose term na ginagamit mo lang parang gano'n easily. Lahat yan sila, ito, si Dandaw, ayan o. Nagdadasal kasi sa kasalanan niya siguro. Magkano bang, ilan bang pinatay mo?
Pero, ayon sa konstitusyon kasi that Duterte swore to uphold nung naging presidente siya, everyone has the right to see the incandescent light of a courtroom. A right he allegedly and probably most definitely denied to many by rhetorics and institutional directive. Kasi ganito yan. Yung mga user, kasi ganito yan. Walang pake ang International Criminal Court dun sa mga naapektuhan ng mga drug user, as you say, as a lot of DDS say. Paano yung mga napatay na tao? Paano yung mga nabiktima ng mga drug addict? Well, that is not the question. Hindi kino-question na sinasanto natin yung mga drug addict. Ang sinasabi natin, due process. Ayan lang naman ang hinihingi nila. Kahit na yung mga akusado. Pero hindi eh. A lot of them were denied their right to a trial. They were denied their right to actually change. To look the people in the eye na nag-aakusa sa kanila. To face judgment in the criminal court. Tapos ang sinasabi pa ng mga DDS our local courts are working. Pero bakit natin dinidepensa na itong extrajudicial killings? Ganito lang yan. Kinakailangan lang ng 4 na kondisyon. First of all, kailangan widespread ang killings. Second, nagmula kay Duterte ang utos na umpisahan ng pagpatay. Pangatlo, may pattern ng institutional policy to kill/exterminate civilian population, which in this case is yung mga alleged drug addict at alleged drug pusher. And to be honest, ayon sa konstitusyon at sa mga laws natin, drug addicts and drug pushers are definitely criminal. Pero their crime cannot be consummated by killing. Kasi the Constitution prohibits state killing ng mga akusado. Lalo na itong mga to na alleged pa lang, na wala pang trial na nakikita. And lastly, it is Duterte who set/implemented the extrajudicial killings when he was mayor ng Davao at nung naging presidente na siya ng Pilipinas. Labing-walong ex-Marines, tagadala raw ng bilyones na maleta ni Zaldico. Nagsilabasan ang mga nagpakilalang 18 ex-Marines na gustong tumestigo at magbigay ng affidavit na nagpapatunay umano sa mga male-maletang puno ng bilyones galing sa dating security group kuno ni dating House Committee on Appropriations Chairperson Zaldico. Kasama sa mga idinidiin ay the usual suspects sa flood control debacle. Pero hindi raw galing sa flood control ang pera, pero hindi siya solely galing sa flood control.
Ang sinasabi kasi ni Senator Lacson, ang assumption niya, ang mga pera na ito ay galing sa flood control projects lamang. Marami pong ibang pinanggagalingan, Department of Agriculture, Department of Environment, no, yung mga reforestation program, no? yung mga irrigation projects. Kasi ang pinupunto lang niya yung flood control eh. Pero meron tayong irrigation projects na maraming ghost dyan. Okay, at makikita nyo naman,
Sila former Congressman Zaldico, former Budget Secretary Pangandaman, former DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan, former House Speaker Martin Romualdez at DBM, among others na kalaban ng mga Duterte, right as it begins na nag-umpisa na ang confirmation of charges ni Duterte sa International Criminal Court sa The Hague, the Netherlands. Sinabi rin nila na nakipagkita raw si dating Justice Secretary at alter ego ni Presidente Marcos Jr. na si Ombudsman Remulla sa mga nag-iimbestigang taga-ICC na nakatanggap umano ng pera. Kumbaga, bakit ang sinasabi or official stance ng Presidente is that hindi makikipag-cooperate sa ICC, tapos ikaw na Justice Secretary as the attorney who gave it to Ombudsman said, alter ego ng Presidente ay nakikipag-usap.
oo, nabanggit si Ombudsman Remulla dahil sa bahay niya nagkaroon ng isang meeting ang mga taga-ICC. Dahil ang obserbasyon po namin, lahat ng places, lahat ng lugar kung saan nagmi-meeting ang mga ICC investigators ay mga pribadong lugar, no? Wala naman silang pinuntahang public office eh. Kaya sabi ko nga, wala tayong choice eh. Hindi ko naman pwedeng dalhin sa DOJ. Di ba? Hindi ko rin pwedeng dalhin sa Senado, sa Kongreso o sa RTC kaagad. Walang ibang ahensya ng gobyerno.
Sir, inirereklamo nyo rin si Ombudsman?
Well, makikita niya doon na actually nakikipag-usap siya sa ICC. Siya ang alter ego ng Presidente. At ang official statement ng Malacanang is that the government of the Republic of the Philippines will never cooperate with the ICC. And yet you have a high-ranking official of the government, no less than the Secretary of the Department of Justice, cooperating with the ICC. And we have a maxim in law that what you are prohibited to do directly, you cannot do indirectly.
Sir, ano pong violation nun? Ano pong violation ng pakikipag-usap niya?
You know, if you look at Republic Act 3019, if you cause undue damage to a person, you
Now sinama pa nga nila sa listahan si former Senator Antonio Trillanes na dineliveran daw ng $2 milyong para makapagkita sa mga taga-ICC, which was promptly denied by the former senator. And to be honest, if it is indeed the case, hindi naman siya yung kumuha ng $2 million sa Kabanang Bayan and that he is a private citizen by that point. Ibig sabihin, walang nangyayaring graft or corruption or malice. Kasi nga again, kung totoo man, which according to sinama pa nga nila sa listahan si former Senator Antonio Trillanes na dineliveran ng $2 milyon para makapagkita sa mga taga-ICC, which was promptly denied by the former senator.
Based on the information we're getting, gagamitin ni Kaufman itong presko nila to try to probably ask for a mistrial because sabi nila may na-compromise daw. Pangalawa yung destabilization kasi ginawa nila dun sa a day before the rally. Nag-go hope sila ng trigger ng outrage yung para yun na nga ma-oust yung administrasyon. Bakit? Kasi next week start na ng impeachment. So all of these things pinagsama-sama na yung agenda. Parang kumbaga sa usapan pagka natatalo ka na, nako-corner ka na, itinataob mo na lang yung mesa para maiba yung eksena, yung usapan. We're getting information right now na galing sa Duterte camp. Yung nag-finance, nagpa-organize nito. Itong mga front, siyempre si Baligod yung gustong umiksena dyan. Pero nakita namin yung mga iba't ibang mga information like the cars used by the Marines sa pagpunta ng presscon, nakaregister yung sa asawa ni Mike Defensor, yung isang vehicle.
matatandaan kasi natin na si Senator Antonio Trillanes at dating Magdalo Representative Alejano ang nag-establish ng supplemental communication o pakikipagtulungan sa ICC nung siya pa ay senador during the first years of Duterte's presidency na mayroong matining na tenga sa pangyayari sa ICC. And he even predicted na si Bongo at si Bato de la Rosa will definitely have their warrants out.
Go ahead, make my day, Mr. Trillanes! Sige ka lang, ngak dyan ng ICC. Sige! Go ahead! Kahit sumama ka pa, mag-serve ng warrant. Sumama ka, ikaw mismo magpusa sa akin.
Mga hindi nag-cooperate, baka within the next few days o weeks, may issue na sila ng blue notice ng Interpol or yung blue diffusion na tinatawag nila, diffusion. So, ito yung questionin sila sa mga immigration counters ng kung saang bansa man sila lilipad. Kasi nga, yung sila Bato, Duterte, Sara, Bongo, and ano sila primary suspects sila Hindi na sila kailangan bigyan ng pagkakataon na mag-cooperate kasi sila yung mga principals na akusahan.
But of course, Senator Amy Marcos / VP Standard Bearer ni Duterte pushes into this allegation, trying to start a probe regarding the affidavit ng mga nagpakilalang ex-Marines kasi nga na-implicate even si Senate President Tito Soto.
Okay, this morning, I filed a resolution, PS, resolution number 317. I have no notion if you in fact have seen or heard about. It's a resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry at the earliest possible opportunity into the alleged money delivery scheme involving 18 former military personnel employed by Congressman Saldico and the reported cooperation of certain government officials with the International Criminal Court.
Nawagad namang sumagot ang Philippine Navy saying na 4 sa nagpakilalang 18 Marines ay hindi raw totoong naging marino, samantalang majority ang dishonorably discharged or napatalisik sa pwesto dahil sa mga kagagawa nila, which we don't know actually, samantalang ang iba naman ay nagretiro in good standing. At yan ang pagtatapos ng News and Worthy Recap Weekly Edition for roughly the 4th week of February 2026. Mag-suggest more topics and or corrections to the balitas if you feel I misrepresented them in any way. Salamat sa panonood mga kabayang of For Me, like, subscribe, and follow links sa socials of For Joseph that will be linked down below. So sustainably of course, paalam.